This Denver Broncos player just had a much needed bounce back day of practice. So, entering training camp, this player was very much on the roster bubble. And unfortunately, throughout the first 5 days, he hadn't really done much to separate himself from the pack and make a case for making this team. But today, on day 6, the second day with pads on, this player was finally able to show a glimmer of hope and was finally able to show some signs of life. That is Audric Estime. But before we talk about Estime's good day, if you guys could do me a big favor and smash the like button as well as subscribe to the channel, and if you guys want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a member today. It would be absolutely incredible. It helps improve the production quality of these videos and more importantly helps keep me alive. So if you want to consider becoming a channel member, the link is in the description below. It would be absolutely incredible. Today, we finally saw Audric Estime take some small steps forward and showcase why he still belongs on this team. Estime's talented. He's got raw potential, and he's not even 22 years old yet. So, I can understand why some fans don't want to discard Audric Estime, and they don't want to give up on that potential. However, I said that the Broncos can't afford to wait around anymore for him to get better. They're trying to win a championship this year. They're trying to figure out in this training camp who's going to lead them to the promised land. And Audric Estime, as of right now, is still far from that. But today, he was able to bounce some runs to the outside, which is what we want to see because the Broncos are running more of an outside zone scheme this year as opposed to Sean Payton's power-heavy scheme and inside zone-heavy scheme, which does tailor to Audric Estime, the previous scheme did. This scheme, I question what his role would be deep down, but being able to bounce those runs to the outside was a very encouraging sign that maybe he can fit this scheme. Maybe he can become an outside zone runner. Maybe he does have good vision on the outside. There was one play that was reported on where the lane wasn't really apparent directly to the outside, so he cut back inside and did a good job at that and put the defender on skates. I'm encouraged because Audric Estime, for the first 5 days, it looked like he was stuck in the doghouse. Both he and Blake Watson were barely getting any reps. I don't know if Estime wasn't earning those reps or if they were just trying to maximize the reps for their top 2 running backs because J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey have been getting a lot of work over the course of camp, especially these last 2 days with pads on. Then you've got an interesting competition between Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Bidet for that RB3 spot. I think that both of them are pushing each other really well, and they've both made some big-time plays in camp. I think both of them are ultimately going to be on the roster in some capacity, be it the active roster or be it on the practice squad. I think that with the practice squad rules, both of them will see significant playing time. But what do you do with Audric Estime? I don't think you'd be able to sneak him onto the practice squad because that would require you to waive him. And if you were to waive him, some other team out there would recognize his potential. Maybe they're trying to develop their roster and find some young guys who can contribute, and they would more than happily claim him and put him on their 53-man roster. So I think that you need to figure out what the long-term goal here is with Estime and see if you can afford to be patient with him for another year on the active roster. I think that if the Broncos do carry 4 running backs on the active roster, it's going to be Dobbins, Harvey, McLaughlin, and Tyler Bidet. I just don't know if you'd be able to sneak Audric Estime onto the practice squad. Maybe the Broncos feel more confident that they can, and maybe they will try to do that. I don't know. But last season, Audric Estime definitely had his struggles putting the ball on the carpet. If there's one positive, he hasn't done that so far in practice this year. He hasn't had any fumbles, hasn't had any bobbled catches. Ball security was the main concern with Estime last year. That's why they didn't trust him, and that's why he was ultimately inactive for that playoff game up in Buffalo. So, in that one area, he has shown growth. He is showing signs of getting better, but he had a lot of other struggles outside of the ball security issues last year. He wasn't very efficient in his runs, just 4.1 yards per carry, 67th amongst running backs in the NFL last year. In the receiving game, he had just 5 catches, 3.08 yards after contact per carry, which is 20th out of 54 running backs with a minimum of 75 rushing attempts. So, I don't know, man. Estime had his problems last year, even outside of turning the ball over. Hopefully he gets more opportunities throughout the rest of training camp and heading into the preseason to showcase what he can do and to showcase why he belongs. If he does get those opportunities, it might again put the Broncos in a tough spot because they might not be able to sneak him through on the practice squad. But it's a good problem to have, and I'd much rather have that problem than not have a competent running back on the roster like it felt like it was last year. So yeah, man, we'll see what happens long term with Audric Estime, but encouraging signs today. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comment section below, guys. How do you feel about Audric Estime's chances to make this team? Do you still have hope for him, or do you think that the Denver Broncos need to move elsewhere at that position and maybe figure out who's going to take this team to the promised land? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts as always. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.